Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today, well, we've begun this series with really some off the beaten path stuff, because I said at the beginning there wasn't any point in doing a series that's just going to have the usual list of the 100 best blah, 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 where I get to repeat the same recommendations that I made when I did my repertoire videos or my Dave's Faves or the greatest whatever, this or that. You know, some recordings are going to pop up again. It's inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable because they are the greatest recordings ever made. And, you know, to not acknowledge that would be to do a disservice to you, my watchers, my viewers, whatever you are, listeners, viewers, you know, using all of your senses, but also, you know, the discography and the history of the works themselves. So yes, those things will come. But I also wanted to make it clear that the idea behind doing the greatest recordings ever made is to do the greatest recordings ever made, irrespective of what the repertoire is, because they are fabulous. And if the repertoire is less known, well, so be it. All the better, because we'll get to know more stuff. So we began with some unexpected selections and some more expected selections, but now we're going to do one that's kind of both. It's expected and unexpected. It's expected because we're talking about Bach. You know, Bach. Johann Sebastian Bach. And he's a big deal. And you know, there's been a lot of vinyl spilled in making Bach recordings, and many of them are extraordinarily fine. I mean, they really are. But I wanted to pick something that might not be the part of Bach that most people, even Bachians, generally enjoy. And I'm talking about his organ music. Now, Bach was by general agreement, the greatest organist of his period, probably the greatest keyboard artist of his period, and his works for organ are really the only pieces anybody cares about that are written for the organ, most of the time anyway. I mean, it's really true. So we should do some Bach organ works, but usually what you wind up with is like some big, you know, glommed up collection by Helmut Walche or Marie-Claire Alain or, you know, something like that. And I don't want to go there, because there are many, many great recordings, really great recordings of Bach organ works that make wonderful, what I would say, introduction pieces. And I did a video about this very recording, and I'm doing it again because most people are never going to find that original video I did way at the beginning of this series. It got a copyright claim because I didn't know anything about it back in those days. So I think it's time to talk about it once again and give it another plug, because it really is one of the greatest recordings ever and one of the greatest Bach recordings ever. It's this series of 3 CDs, actually, on Deutsche Grammophon Originals. Bach organ music, a selection of organ music played by Karl Richter. And this is one of the greatest recordings ever, first of all, because it's by one of the greatest Bach conductors ever, Karl Richter, who was an extraordinary Bach conductor, and he was so well known as a choral conductor and a choral music conductor and a Bach specialist that the fact that he was an organist and a very, very great organist is often forgotten. And he only made these 3 recordings for Deutsche Grammophon of Bach's organ works, which is sort of astonishing to me. But, you know, he could have done the whole thing. But there it is, first of all. Number 2, he has chosen 2 absolutely delicious organs to listen to, because organ music is all about the instrument as much as it is the player. And if you've got a crappy instrument or a horrible acoustic, you're doomed. It doesn't make any difference what other qualities you bring to the party. And the 2 organs are the Grosse Silbermann organ to Freiburg, in the cathedral at Freiburg. Silbermann was, of course, you know, Bach's organ builder, the guy whose organs he tested and recommended and was friends with and all of that stuff. So to hear a Silbermann organ is just wonderful. And the other is the Organ der Jagersborgkirche by Copenhagen. It's in Copenhagen, Denmark. It's a beautiful, beautiful instrument for Baroque music with wonderfully colorful registration, and it's gorgeously recorded here. Really ideal recordings sonically. So, and what do you get? So these were recorded in 1964, 1967, and 1968 for the most part. And we get a wonderful overview of Bach's organ works, and thus a wonderful overview of Bach, the composer, more generally, because, all of the forms in which he worked, the most important ones are in here in his organ music. So we get, let's see, these are big discs. They're 81 minutes each. I mean, obviously, when these were on LPs, it was more than 3 of them, because these are 80-plus minute CDs. 2 of them anyway, 178 minutes. So I mean, it's the same thing. It's a lot of music. It's 4 hours of music, 4 solid hours. So originally this came out on 4 or 5 LPs. I don't remember, to be honest with you. But you've got a whole slew of toccatas and fugues, and preludes and fugues, which is, I don't have to go through the BWV numbers and all that. They're just, the famous ones, the toccata and fugue in D minor, that's there. The Passacaglia and fugue in C minor is here. The Dorian toccata and fugue is here. They're all there. So all the biggies. Then you've got the trio sonatas, which are just fabulous, perfect introductions, I think, to Bach's oeuvre, because they are the art of 3-part counterpoint at its very, very best. They're so delightful to listen to, and they're ear-ticklingly, gorgeously marvelous. You just let the voices, the interweaving voices, just penetrate your soul. It's just amazing. So you get one of those. Then you've got on disc 2 more trio sonatas. Then you have 3 major chorale preludes. Chorale preludes are they're basically based on hymn tunes, chorale tunes, Martin Luther's Lutheran chorales, and contrapuntally worked up into fantastical, gorgeous, phantasmagorical things that Bach does. Some of them are quite short, but some of them are pretty long, like 7 minutes for Schmücke dich, o liebe Seele. Oh yeah, schmücke your dick and go with it. Whatever that means. Okay, and then we've got, let's see, the Canzone in D minor. And then on disc 3, you have, one of Bach's chorale partitas. Now, a chorale partita is a multi-movement thing, all based on this chorale tune, and they can be very, very big. This one is O Gott, du frommer Gott, BWV 767, if you're interested in that, is 14 minutes long. I mean, it's a major thing. A partita was like a suite, it's a piece with several sections or movements. They're usually dance movements. Well, of course, in a chorale partita, they're less dancey, especially on the organ. Let's not kid ourselves. And then he also gives us the chorale partita Sei gegrüßet Jesu gütig, which is the next one in the BWV catalog, 768, which is 20 minutes long. I mean, it's a major, major piece. Fabulous elaborations of these tunes, as only Bach could do it. And once again, it's with Karl Richter, the great, great, great Karl Richter. These are sort of hidden gems in the Bach discography, I think. And it's kind of fascinating because in the classical music world, people sort of specialize. So Bach's organ music has to be played by Bach organists, people who spent their lives doing Bach organ music. And Richter didn't. Well, he did, but he did other things too. But I think that both as a memento of his greatness as a Bach interpreter, and also as a way to introduce yourself to this wonderful, wonderful world. I mean, it's an incredible body of work, the Bach organ music. It really is. And I'm not an organ person. I'm not really, I can take or leave it, but there are certain composers who wrote so wonderfully for the organ. And if you like the composer, you're going to like what they wrote for the organ. And there are people like Bach and Franck and Widor and Messiaen, Mendelssohn, a few others, just a handful, who were just extraordinarily gifted composers for this particular medium. And so the great recordings for this particular medium are also sort of a special category. And this is a special one in that special category because, as I said, people tend to overlook Richter as an organist while acknowledging his importance and his greatness in every other aspect of Bach performance. And what makes this special And I think singularly great is the fact that it's just Richter. Just Richter and his organ. It tells us what we think was great about his Bach. Its architectural sense, its flow, its excitement. These are exciting performances. The freshness that he brought to his Bach interpretations. It really is, in his choral music things, of course, we like the chorus. You may like the soloists. It's as much about other people as it is about him. But I think that we have to give Richter credit for being a great Bach interpreter. We need to find a recording that highlights him by himself. And it's this one, this fantastic disc or set actually, of Bach organ works. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me, and take care.